44% of all single-family home purchases were made by institutional investors, according to the Medium. That is a viral article that went out last week, and people have been going crazy over it. There's been a counter article that came out claiming that that wasn't true. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at both of those articles, including several articles that were sent to me by you as subscribers, because you guys have been keeping the eye out. Because institutional investors are buying houses. The claim that they're not is ridiculous. Is that at the 44% as the Medium claims? Well, you can make your decision at the end and you let me know. Do you think that this is an actual problem? Because according to them, by 2030, they say institutional investors will own about 60% of single-family homes in the United States. So let's get into it. Now, this is from the Median and it is behind a paywall. I will put a link in the description just so you can take a look at it for yourself. It says that private equity has been rapidly growing in its shares of the housing market, taking advantage of the housing crisis, in some cases exacerbating it. Before the Great Recession of 2009, financial institutions and investment firms focused on purchasing multifamily dwellings like apartments, essentially ignoring the single-family homes. But when tons of homes were suddenly sold at incredibly low prices with the interest rates so low, these investors jumped on the opportunity to scoop up homes. And that was big investors and small investors that were able to buy up as many houses as they could during that time. Since then, the curiosity and the cash flow opportunity has done nothing but increase, so they just keep buying homes. Private institutional investors, the big ones, are not rate sensitive, because even though the rates have gone up consistently, it doesn't matter to an institutional investor that's buying it cash. Matter of fact, it gives them more opportunity because more buyers are sitting on the sidelines because they can't afford the newer, higher interest rates. So they have the opportunity to scoop up these smaller, cheaper homes for them and turn them into rental properties. So according to the article from Median, it says, over the last decade, the number of investors purchasing single-family homes increased from 10% to 15% each year, according to the data reported by the Pew Trust and originally gathered by CoreLogic in 2022. Investment companies own about 1/4 of all single-family homes. Corporations backed by private equities such as Blackstone and Premier Partners bought tens of thousands of homes across the U.S. Sunbelt. Prices for detached homes have increased faster in key Sunbelt states, faster than the national average. But that isn't just institutional investors that were buying over the last several years. It has been just the regular average buyer as well. I saw just normal people offering a lot more money for homes in order to get into that home. But I'll say this, they were fighting against those institutional investors who had cash offers. Many sellers could not refuse an offer that was $20,000 or $30,000 over asking price with no concessions and a super quick close. How could the individual compete with something like that? They just can't, especially if they have a mortgage that would take longer to close. That did cause a huge problem during COVID. And we saw it across the Sun Belt, especially in places like Austin, Texas. Home prices increased drastically. Even in my own area, my house went up $100,000. Do I think it's worth $100,000 more? No, not really, but that's what the market has dictated during that time. This article goes on to say, the increasing presence of private equity in the residential housing market has led concerns to the impact of home prices and the ability for the individual home buyers to compete, like I just said. Some argue these firms are out competing regular buyers and are responsible for the skyrocketing rents and home prices. I kind of agree with this, but I'm going to show you another article in just a second why I think this. The growth of private equity in the housing market has been significant, and left unchecked, it could have far-reaching implications for affordability and availability of housing for individual home buyers. And if you think that this is crazy, that this isn't really an issue, this is when I'm going to go into the article that one of my subscribers had sent to me, and it's exactly what I've been talking about and warning you about for the last 3 years. So let's take a look. According to this NPR article, just 5 companies own over 8,000 homes in Kansas City. And if you have control of one specific city, 8,000 homes in that direct area, what is going to happen to that specific area? It isn't the market that's dictating the price. It's those 5 specific companies. And if you think they don't get together and price fix exactly how much rents are going to go for in that area, well, I think you're kind of crazy. Not only that, if you're a small-time investor and you happen to own a house in that area, most smaller investors just follow what the market is doing. So if the market is saying now that rents are about $1,500 and you've been charging $1,300, and you're about to put your house up for rent, most landlords are going to go ahead and make it the $1,500, even though they probably wouldn't have if those companies weren't controlling and dictating how much rents are going to go for. So let's go the opposite way. Let's just say that those 5 companies decide to unload all of their inventory at one time. They're going to cause a big problem if they decide to dump them all at once, because that would be such an unusual thing to happen in a market. Prices will drop drastically. That wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing for a home buyer, but if you're like a regular home seller trying to sell your house in that area and there's 27 houses down your street that are for sale, you're going to end up having to come down on your price quite a bit. And that's going to be reflective of everybody that's selling their houses. So not only is private equity getting into the real estate market with buying up homes, now you can include everything that you get done to your house, including roofing and any kind of repairs. This TikToker, I got permission to share her video, and her husband work with HVACs, your air conditioning units, and her business has been greatly affected by private equity.
The last 6 months, I have seen a very alarming drop in the amount of revenue my company produces. I believe the reason for that is because private equity has started to come into the trades business. So your plumbers, your electricians, your HVAC contractors. Private equity has started buying up home services companies, so much so that people that we used to have really strong relationships with, other business owners, are selling their businesses over to these private equity firms because they can pay top dollar, and they go and they retire. My husband and I went to a conference in September of last year. We were expecting to show up and receive great training on how to run our business. We realized very quickly that it was a mingling pot for private equity to come in and purchase up businesses from owners who were struggling. We had a conversation with a gentleman while we were there, and he basically said that the reason why private equity is coming so far down into Wall Street to Main Street is because COVID taught them that the brick and mortar sales model is too fragile. And so what they want to do is they want to turn each of our individual homes into their new sales floors. Why does this matter? Because just like the housing market, when private equity reaches its hand into anything, the money that they bring into the system super inflates sort of the entire economic process of that system. What I am saying to you right now is that if somebody does not get a hold of this private equity buying out of these small Main Street companies, in 10 years, HVAC will be a luxury that most people will not be able to afford.
Slowly but surely, it seems like they're finding other ways to rip our homes away from us so they own everything. Conspiracy theory? Maybe not so much anymore. Do you think private equity is really trying to help solve the affordability crisis here in the United States? It's not feeling so much like that, is it? Sounds like they're trying to rob the American dream from a lot of future homeowners. In this article, it says investors intentionally targeting what was primarily been housing intended for ownership to turn it into rentals. A strong presence of large out-of-state investors can have repercussions for tenants too. Because I've seen it too. And I'm sure if you have any friends or family that are renting houses, a lot of these large investors are what we call hands-off investors. So they buy the property, they have a company maintain the property, but if anything goes wrong with the property, it's almost impossible to get a hold of them. Some of them are even out of the country, and they're not maintaining the properties in the way that they should be. They're depending on the property management companies to take care of it. So a lot of times when the property management companies can't get a hold of the owners, a lot of these repairs are put on the back burner. And this is going to continue to be a problem. This isn't exclusive just to single family homes. This includes apartments and townhomes as well. The article goes on to say, where did all these large investment firms come from? 33 companies own nearly 14,000 homes in Kansas City alone. 5 of those companies own nearly 8,000. Vinebrook Homes is one of the top 5 investors in the region. Their latest SEC report shows that Ohio-based real estate company owns 26,657 homes in 18 states since December 2022. Vinebrook owns 1,118 properties in Kansas City. And if you look at that graph, All the purple areas are where investors have been purchasing homes, and it looks like it's all in one specific county. So if they're buying in one specific county, that means they dictate the price for rent and the prices of homes that are being sold and the prices of homes that are being purchased. They control the market, not the market controlling the prices. This is not a good thing. This article also confirms what I just told you, and it said investment companies started buying up homes in the wake of the wave of foreclosures set back in 2008 housing crisis. Years of banks making subprime loans to home buyers caused the housing bubble to burst. Millions of properties tumbled in value, and real estate investors were left with an opportunity to buy large amounts of a property quickly and cut rate prices. So who's to say that if they get in a pickle and they need to dump those prices, that home prices won't tumble again? You could really destroy an area if you decided to dump all those properties at once. I don't think any town, county, city should be allowing any private equity firm to own most of the county. It doesn't make sustainable financial sense to any local government to allow this to happen. Vinebrook must have some deep pockets, because we always talk about Blackstone, BlackRock, invitation homes, homes for rent. But this one has been kind of flying under the radar for all of us, because they've bought a bunch of houses in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, too. Just take a look at this. It says the multi-billion-dollar Vinebrook Homes Trust made its way into Milwaukee in 2019, now owns 1,000 single-family homes on the north side. As a Texas-based company buys up more homes in Milwaukee's north side, some residents and the community advocates are worried about the potential impact on their community. They've been busy beavers. In this article from Wisconsin Watch, they're worried about the potential of Vinebrook becoming like slumlords. And in the article it says, a quick Google search lets us know that this group is a potential slumlord. I can't understand how we allowed this to happen. So let's do a quick Google search. Are they a slumlord? All right, NBC News says, easy to bully corporate landlord in Cincinnati. They're in Cincinnati too. We have been barking up the wrong tree. These people have been taken over. A corporate landlord in Cincinnati is aggressively trying to evict tenants, and critics say Vinebrook Homes has over 24,000 homes in 18 states, including Ohio, Alabama, Indiana, Missouri, and Mississippi, mostly with low-income tenants. Well, this is pretty interesting. They said they're one of the worst landlords to service our area. According to Nick Dianardo, a managing attorney and legal aid to Society Southwest Ohio, who estimated that his office handled hundreds of Vinebrook evictions over the past 2 years. They charge improper, in some cases illegal fees, and they lock people out of the rental portal when the tenant doesn't pay these improper fees. Then they give the tenant no way to contest the fees and then immediately file eviction. Oh, these people are something. And they're going to be the ones that control the market in several of these cities, owning up all that area of single-family housing. I don't know. This smells like they're eating up the American dream to me. I don't know. What do you think? Holy cow. What a rabbit hole we have dug ourselves into. Now it's time for the rebuttal from investors and economists saying that no, it's not true. 44% of investors haven't been buying up the housing market over the last several years. And this is the response that came from Housing Wire. And it was reprinted by Yahoo News because it's behind a paywall and Kristina ain't paying. It says, no, Wall Street investors haven't bought 44% of homes this year. The 44% claim was made in a headline for the Medium article last week and spread like wildfire across social media. Congress has even jumped on the bandwagon, with Democratic lawmakers introducing bills looking into the ban of hedge funds from buying single-family homes. That bill, both of those bills make absolutely no sense. First of all, you know as well as I do, that's never going to hit the House floor. And if it does hit the House floor and it gets voted on and everybody says yes, yay! And everybody goes into the Senate and the Senate goes ahead and votes on it, yay! We're going to think that we won something. But hedge funds don't buy houses. Institutional investors buy houses. So it's just words on paper. It means nothing. Those guys that wrote that up wanted something that they can campaign on so they could either get elected again or get elected to some other office. They didn't do anything for institutional investors. They did it for hedge funds, which doesn't make any sense when it comes to buying up homes. Hedge funds aren't buying homes. Institutional investors are. The article goes on to say, this says that the first chart provided by Freddie Mac shows where large institutional investors rank as a percentage of the marketplace. As you can see, even if you add them together with iBuyers, there are a tiny percentage of home buyers in America. In fact, institutional buyers, those who bought 100 homes or more in the last 12-month period, didn't even reach the 2.5% market share at the peak level data line, which goes back to the start of the century. And what I want to say to that is there's no regulatory practice that requires them to actually tell you how many homes they own. Invitation Homes has been saying they own about 90,000 homes for the last 10 years. And they'll just say upwards of 90,000 homes. So you can add another 100,000 on top of that. But there's no law on the book that says they have to disclose exactly how many homes that they bought in the last year. So some of these indicators that are showing us how many homes that institutional investors have bought aren't necessarily the true case, not the whole entire picture, not the whole story. They said the overall share of investors has grown since 2000 and currently around 30%, as you see in the chart below, but vast majority are small and pop investors. And like I told you in the past videos, they are trying to blame all of these home prices and the increase in rents on small mom and pop home investors. But if they are only owning 2 houses in one area, and a company like Vinebrook owns 1,000 homes in the area, who do you think dictates the rental price in that area? It's not going to be the mom and pop investor that owns 3 houses. It's going to be the one that owns 1,000 houses in that direct area. So to blame mom and pops is ridiculous. It's just nothing but a red herring. They always want to point it to the little guy, which always ticks me off. The chart below from John Burns Real Estate is another illustration of this point. It says you can see a percentage of home buying by big investors, those with 1,000 properties or more, is super tiny. Again, the bulk of home buying for many years is tier 1 investors. Those are buying 1 or 9 properties. The viral store is saying the Wall Street is buying 44% of single-family homes this year is laughable. See, this is why we're smart. We can read more articles than just this one. And if you just read this specific one, you would think that institutional investors are not the issue. But I need to read you this very last paragraph because it literally made me want to vomit. So to make a long, convoluted story very simple, there's no data showing that Wall Street has been a big buyer of homes in the U.S. since 2000. If you want to pin the blame on somebody, you're going to have to condemn the avocado toast eating kids, the millennials, who started buying homes in 2013 and were the largest percentage of home buyers until the mortgage rates rose in 2022. Since then, Gen X and baby boomers have once again come out on top, according to the National Association of Realtors. Either way, it's not Wall Street, but that isn't a sexy talking point in a class warfare dialogue. Who wrote this article? This is a real problem. You can see from the past 2 articles, Wall Street is buying up homes. I know in my heart of hearts that this is going to be a problem and it's going to continue to be a problem. To make little jokes and quips at people when they're trying to find the most affordable housing option in their local area and they can't because people like Invitation Homes, Blackstone, BlackRock, Homes for Rent, and now we can add Vinebrook Homes to that list. To me, it's an insult to our intelligence to think that this is not a real issue. Oh, right off the presses, March 15th, 2024. The National Association of Realtors has settled the lawsuit and is going to be paying out over $400 million to settle this and what it means to you if you are a home buyer or home seller. If you're a home seller, you will no longer have to offer a compensation commission to the buyer's agent. But that doesn't mean that 3% is going to be coming off the purchase price of the house. That just means that that 3% is now going back into the seller's pocket. The home buyer is going to have to find a way to be able to pay those commissions or go at it without a real estate agent. And I'm sure a lot of you are celebrating this. And I get it, but let me just put it to you in this perspective. No matter what the market is, whether it is a booming market or the market is crashing, one thing is always been consistent is that all markets, when it comes to the housing market, is driven by first-time home buyers. If first-time home buyers cannot afford to pay for a real estate agent to represent them, they're going to be going at this alone. And they're going to be fighting against who? Private equity firms. And the buyers that would have been typically able to qualify for your house are now going to have even another hurdle to get into that specific house. And private equity is going to be so happy. It's going to be so much easier for them. They have eliminated the competition with this ruling. All this is going to do is help private equity gain even more housing in the United States, eliminating the first-time home buyer so they have to rent from them. This is not a good decision, not at all. So do you think I'm sounding off alarm bells for no reason, that this isn't something to worry about, that institutional investors aren't really taking over as many neighborhoods across the country as being perceived in some of these articles? Or do you think that corporate investors are going to ruin the American dream? Let me know in the comment section below. I really want to hear what you have to say. To watch more videos about the affordability crisis here in the United States, you're going to want to watch these videos right here. My name is Kristina Smallhorn, your real estate whisperer, and I tell you all this because good real estate information matters.